Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just back again with another sequence of the end times videos. I just had a few of them in my queue, so I'll just get them out. I think I've gotten most of them in Matthew at this point. But, again, to me, this is just fascinating because there are lots of them of the collection that are on my backup channel that are explicitly meant to describe the end times. But then there are other ones like this where Christ is teaching, but then it encodes it, and then these to me are actually even more special because it's just another layer that the Bible is internally consistent and is always breathing prophecy. And so Matthew 18:10, again, we're going to have a reference to the elect. We're going to have a reference to two agreeing on certain things and then the Father doing it, which is symbolic of the two witnesses. And then we're going to have a time of destruction, and then the kingdom. And so that is what we see here. Matthew 18:10, see that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. What do you think if a man has 100 sheep and one of them has gone astray? Does he not leave the 99 on the mountains and go in search of the one that went astray? And if he finds it, truly I say to you, he rejoices over it more than over the 99 that never went astray. Verse 14, this is for God's elect. So it is not the will of my Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. That's salvation, okay, to not be corrupted, to receive salvation. So first off, again, the position of that is not random, or just by chance. That's in verse 14. And then that's talking about the elect being saved. Okay. So now we're going to have a time where the two witnesses are prophesying for 1260 days. And then doesn't explicitly say that, but it uses language to remind us that that's the case. That's next. Verse 15, if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he listens to you, you have gained your brother. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along with you, that every charge may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. Okay, remember that language, the 2 witnesses, in Revelation 11. If he refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen to even to the church, let him be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. So this is a time of sifting. Okay, God's like, okay, if you don't trust the Bible or take God at his word, you need to see God, and then you have to go to these 2 witnesses, and then God will show you them, and then see that if that's enough for you to believe. And so just know that. So this is a layered meaning, to this. Truly, I say to you, whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. So this is 18, verse 666. This is the time where the 2 witnesses are going to have power over the earth and the heavens. They're going to have power over the clouds, the sun, the water, the human body, everything, and so just know that. Again, this actually confirms it. Again, I say to you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything they ask, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. And that's the 2 witnesses who are given power over the earth, and then the heavens, which can refer to the atmosphere as well. And so, for where 2 or 3 gathered in my name, there I am among them. And so the 2 witnesses are brought here by Christ. And so he's among them. So now that again is the Great Tribulation period with the 2 witnesses, administering the plagues in Revelation 16. And they have control over everything. It's amazing. The only reason I would want to be around during that time is to go and talk to them, face to face, Moses and Elijah, who they are. Verse 21, then Peter came up and said to him, Lord, how often will my brother sin against me and I forgive him? As many as 7 times. Jesus said to him, I do not say to you 7 times, but 77 times. It just don't count, that kind of thing. Verse 23, therefore the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. 77 also is 14 for God's elect. So that's coded language. Christ always uses very specific numbers, okay? Just know that. And so 7 is a complete number. It's for people with the Spirit. And so the Bible will make sense to them. The 6 system, people, they don't even know, what are you talking about, to forgive? They'll just step on your throat to get the next whatever. So this language, all the stuff in the Bible is just nonsense for them. But it's God breathing, and then it's salvation for us who read it. Hope for that. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven may be compared to a king who wished to settle accounts with his servants. Verse 24, when he began to settle, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. And since he could not repay, his master ordered him to be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and payment to be made. Just pay attention to where these verses are. You tell me if this is a coincidence. This is absolutely amazing. Verse 26, so the servant fell on his knees, imploring him, have patience with me and I'll pay you everything. This person did not have plans to repay. That's why it's in 66. This person is deceptive and evil. Verse 27, and out of pity for him, the master of the servant released him and forgave him the debt. That's in 2 sevens, 77, 14. Okay. But when the same servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii, and seizing him, he began to choke him, saying, pay what you owe. So this person was deceptive and evil. And so they tried to hoodwink God. Okay, you can't hoodwink God. He's too clever. So nice try. So his fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, have patience with me and I will pay you. He refused and went and put him in prison until he should pay the debt. Look at the world right now with the credit system and all that debt and then credit cards and all that kind of stuff. You're telling me that God's not anxious to absolutely annihilate this place? He has to, according to like his word here. And so just know that that is everywhere on earth, in particular in the religious community. So just know that that's where he's going to start. Verse 31, when his fellow servants saw that what had taken place, they were greatly distressed, and they went and reported to their master all that had taken place. This is God's elect. The souls of the just complain continually, nonstop, what's going on here. And then they evaluate themselves first, and then they're pointing at every kind of evil thing that's going on. And you could point everywhere at this point. Then his master summoned him and said to him, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you pleaded with me, and should not you have had mercy on your fellow servant as I had mercy on you? That's in verse 33. All these actors and deceivers, Freemasons and all that. And in anger, his master delivered him to the jailers until he should pay his debt. That's in verse 34, 444, FFF 666. Okay. So my heavenly Father will do to every one of you if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. And so this is God's judgment, the final judgment, you know, and then so this is language that's talking about forgiveness and how important it is, but it's also layered prophecy. Okay. And so after the time of God's judgment for those unforgiving, evil people, we will have a reference to the kingdom, you know, and then so if you continue on in Matthew 19:13, then children were brought to him that he might lay his hands on them and pray. The disciples rebuked the people, but Jesus said, let the children come to me and do not hinder them, for such belong the kingdom of heaven. And he laid his hands on them and went away. Okay. And so just know that, you know, so then here we go. We have a reference to the kingdom of heaven. And so, also actually a little bit prior to this, there's a reference to Moses. And so he's one of the two witnesses. So this is where the Bible is just amazing. I mean, it's always consistent, and it's always going to give you like sort of clues here and there about what's going on. And then when you piece it together, it makes perfect sense, you know. And then again, so Matthew 18 and then a little bit of 19 reaffirms the sequence of the end times. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.